I didn't kill him. I guess I did, but it doesn't matter.
I'm sorry.
Dwight is a quiet and mysterious man who's hit rock bottom in life. He is so desperate that he sneaks into a stranger's house just to take a bath, hoping for a moment of comfort. But his peace is quickly broken when the people who live there come home, so Dwight has to run away by climbing out the window. With no home of his own, Dwight wanders from place to place like a shadow, never staying anywhere for too long. At night, he sleeps in an old abandoned car that he has turned into his shelter. To survive, he searches for leftover food in parks and avoids talking to anyone, always keeping to himself and feeling very alone. Moreover, it is clear that Dwight is homeless, isolated, and carrying a lot of pain. The next morning, his quiet world is interrupted by Officer Eddie, who wakes him up outside. She's a local police officer who remembers Dwight from when he was younger, before his life fell apart. Eddie doesn't want to get Dwight in trouble, but she brings him to the station to check on him and delivers some shocking news. Wade Cleland, the man who murdered Dwight's parents 2 decades ago, is about to be let out of prison. This information hits Dwight hard, and old wounds come rushing back. Suddenly, he's filled with anger and decides he must get revenge. With almost no money, Dwight does what he can. He buys a map of his old hometown in Virginia, fixes his car with a new battery, and visits a gun store but can't afford anything except a postcard. He writes to his sister Sam, the only family he has left, to tell her he's coming home, but keeps his real intentions a secret. Desperate for a weapon, he looks for an unlocked car and finds a gun, but it's useless because the trigger is locked. While trying to break the lock, he ruins the gun, but that doesn't stop him. Dwight drives all the way to the Virginia State Penitentiary and waits for Wade to come out. He watches from a distance as Wade's family, the Clelands, arrive in a fancy limousine to greet him, hugging and celebrating. Seeing this, Dwight's anger grows stronger. He follows them to a bar where they are celebrating Wade's release. Filled with nerves and determination, Dwight sneaks into the bar through the back, holding only a knife, and hides in the bathroom, waiting for his chance. When Wade enters alone, Dwight attacks, but his first attempt isn't successful. The two struggle, but Dwight manages to stab Wade in the head, killing him. Chaos breaks out in the bar as Wade's family realizes what has happened. Dwight, panicked, punctures their limo's tire to slow them down, but he hurts his hand in the process. Realizing he left his car keys inside the bar, he is forced to steal the Clelands' limo to get away. As he drives, he hears a sound in the back seat and finds William, a young boy from the Cleland family, hiding there. William, terrified, asks why Dwight killed Wade, and Dwight quietly explains it's because Wade killed his own parents. Shocked and scared, William runs off into the night, leaving Dwight alone to question if he did the right thing or just made things worse. Now, exhausted, bleeding, and uncertain, Dwight abandons the limo and breaks into an empty house nearby, where he cuts his hair and beard, cleans his wounds, and tries to check the news for any word of the murder, but finds nothing. Feeling lost and with nowhere left to turn, Dwight finally decides to hitch a ride with a truck driver, hoping to find comfort or advice from his sister Sam. He's left with a haunting feeling that even after all he's done, nothing in his world has truly changed, and he's still searching for meaning and peace after so many years of pain. Sam, now living on her own and raising 2 young daughters, is completely stunned when she sees her brother Dwight waiting outside her house after so many years apart. Despite her surprise, she welcomes him in, and together they go to a local diner to catch up on everything that's happened since they last saw each other. Over coffee, Sam confides that she always had a feeling Dwight was still somewhere in Delaware, but she never knew where or how to reach him. Dwight admits that once, he saw Sam from a distance but was too embarrassed and ashamed of his circumstances to make contact. The siblings' reunion quickly turns serious when Dwight tells Sam about Wade Cleland's release from prison and confesses that he killed him. Sam's emotions are all over the place. She's furious and frightened that Dwight has involved himself in such violence, but she's also relieved that Wade, who caused their family so much pain, is finally gone. Sam admits she's always hated the Clelands, especially because they still live nearby and show off their money, driving their big limousine past her house like nothing ever happened. Dwight soon realizes that by killing Wade, he may have put Sam and her daughters in danger if the Clelands try to get revenge. Worried, the siblings rush back to Sam's home, but thankfully her girls are safe and sound. Sam, shaken and angry, blames Dwight for dragging danger to her doorstep, but Dwight pleads with her to pack up the kids and go to Pittsburgh for safety. Although she's scared and doesn't want to leave her home, Sam finally agrees, quickly gathering a few things and leaving Dwight alone to face whatever might happen. With the house now empty, Dwight frantically searches for anything he can use to defend himself, but finds nothing except a rusty old pitchfork. As night falls, memories of better days flood back as he sits in Sam's childhood room and flips through her old school photo album, feeling both sadness and longing for their lost innocence. Suddenly, Dwight is startled by the headlights of a car outside. It is Wade's brothers, Teddy and Carl, arriving in Dwight's own stolen car. Thinking fast, Dwight tries to trick them by turning on the bathroom light and running the faucet upstairs, hoping they'll be distracted. He quietly sneaks downstairs and watches as the two brothers break into the house, splitting up to search for him. The tension builds as Dwight hides behind the hallway sofa, his heart racing. The brothers head upstairs, giving Dwight a short window to escape, but they quickly spot him and start shooting arrows his way as he flees in panic. Barely dodging their attacks, Dwight manages to jump into their car and accidentally crashes into Teddy. In the chaos, he checks on Teddy and tries to ask if the Clelands are after him or Sam, but Teddy is unconscious and can't answer. Carl comes outside, but Dwight points a gun at him, forcing Carl to run away. Dwight gives chase but loses him in the dark. Limping back to the car, Dwight struggles to drag Teddy's limp body into the back seat. Suddenly, an arrow hits Dwight in the leg, causing him terrible pain. Bleeding and desperate, Dwight still manages to drive off, leaving Carl behind, cursing in frustration. By the next morning, Dwight rummages through Teddy's pockets looking for anything useful, then stuffs him in the trunk for safety. Knowing he can't leave the arrow in his leg, Dwight does something desperate. He uses a saw to cut off the shaft, but the arrowhead is still stuck inside. Hobbling, he drives to a pharmacy, buys whatever medical supplies he can, but even then he struggles to remove the arrowhead, feeling overwhelmed by pain, fear, and the mess his life has become. Barely able to stand and losing a lot of blood from his injured leg, Dwight desperately drives himself to the hospital. As soon as he steps inside, his strength gives out and he collapses, leaving doctors to patch him up while he's unconscious. When Dwight wakes up, he sees his leg bandaged and realizes this might be his only chance to escape before anyone starts asking questions. He quietly slips out of the hospital without being noticed and returns to his car, where he wakes Teddy, who's been locked in the trunk all this time, by banging loudly on the metal. Teddy instantly starts screaming for help, his voice panicked and angry, complaining about his broken leg and begging for water, but Dwight quickly shuts him up to avoid drawing attention. On his way out of town, Dwight stops at a donation bin to grab some fresh clothes and fills up his car with fuel, knowing he can't afford to slow down. When he arrives back at his sister's house, Dwight feels weighed down by exhaustion but forces himself to clean up the mess from the night before. He turns off the water in the bathroom, tidies up, and, as he tries to calm his nerves, finds Sam's old school book, flipping through its pages as memories of their childhood and simpler times wash over him. The sound of Teddy's constant yelling from the trunk is a harsh reminder of the violence and chaos that's still unfolding. Feeling alone and desperate for support, Dwight comes across a photograph of his childhood friend Ben and decides to track him down, longing for a sense of trust and connection. Visiting Ben's old home, Dwight is greeted by Ben's mother, who's surprised but remembers him well. She gives him Ben's new address and tells Dwight where he now works. That evening, Dwight drives to the bar and waits outside until Ben finishes his late shift. When Ben finally comes out, the two men have a bittersweet reunion, catching up on old times and sharing stories from their wilder days. Ben even shows Dwight an old, embarrassing photo from their youth. Ben, sensing Dwight's trouble, offers him a gun and invites him to his quiet rural property to practice shooting, wanting to help in any way he can. Despite his friend's generosity, Dwight refuses further help, not wanting Ben to get dragged into his dangerous mess. Before he leaves, Dwight fills a bottle of water and returns to the car, where Teddy is still trapped. Pointing the gun at Teddy to keep him calm, Dwight finally offers him the water and questions him about whether the Clelands are after Sam or just him. Teddy reveals that the Clelands only want revenge on Dwight. Realizing there's no easy way out, Dwight says he'll turn himself in to the police to end things, but Teddy responds coldly that the Clelands don't care about justice, they only want Dwight dead. Upset and hopeless, Dwight fires a warning shot to scare Teddy, who finally reveals the tragic truth. Wade Sr. killed Dwight's father out of jealousy, as Dwight's dad had an affair with Wade Sr.'s wife, and Dwight's mother was only killed by accident in the chaos. Shocked and shaken, Dwight hands Teddy his phone and tells him to call the Cleland family, hoping to end the bloodshed with a meeting, but no one answers. When Dwight leans in to get the phone back, Teddy takes his chance, lunging at Dwight and managing to grab the gun. Teddy, now feeling confident because he's got the gun pointed at Dwight, taunts him by revealing that Wade Sr., the real person responsible for so much pain, actually died quietly of cancer and never had to answer for his crimes. Teddy gets ready to kill Dwight, but in a shocking twist, Ben suddenly appears just in time and shoots Teddy in the face, saving Dwight's life. Shaken but alive, Dwight and Ben work together to hide Teddy's body in the trunk of the car, making sure they leave no evidence behind. Ben, noticing how badly Dwight handles the gun, insists that he needs proper training if he hopes to survive. He spends some time teaching Dwight how to shoot and gives him a new gun along with extra supplies, determined to help his old friend in any way he can. Dwight, deeply grateful but wanting to protect Ben from further danger, asks him to destroy a silly old photo of the two of them with a stripper. Before leaving, Dwight sabotages Ben's car batteries so Ben won't be able to follow him into more trouble. On the road again, Dwight stops at a diner for a quiet meal, while Ben, now stuck at home, reluctantly microwaves the embarrassing photo to destroy it, as Dwight requested. Dwight then drives to the Clelands' house, ready to settle things for good. He finds the place empty, so he searches through their belongings, listens to their phone messages, and carefully throws all their guns into a nearby lake to make sure they can't use them later. When Dwight sees Wade Sr.'s grave in the yard, he angrily urinates on it, showing just how much pain and anger he still feels. As night falls, Dwight sets traps around the house and waits nervously for the Clelands to return, passing the time by flipping through their family photo albums and reflecting on all that has happened. The next morning, while dragging Teddy's body outside to bury it, Dwight is startled by a phone ringing. He runs inside but misses the call. Wanting to end the violence, Dwight calls the Clelands' home number, leaving a message begging to settle things and asking them to leave his sister alone. After burying Teddy, Dwight prepares himself for the final showdown. That night, the Cleland family comes home and listens to Dwight's voicemail, but the situation quickly turns tense. One of the Cleland brothers reveals they have been tracking Sam in Pittsburgh, which makes Dwight furious. In a moment of panic, Dwight shoots him, starting a violent fight. He then confronts the Cleland sisters, telling them he never wanted to hurt anyone and only did what he did because they targeted his sister. In the chaos, young William sneaks in with a gun and shoots Dwight, but the wound isn't fatal. The sisters tell William to finish Dwight off, but he hesitates. Dwight grabs the chance, disarms William, and realizes the boy is his half-brother, his own father's son with Wade Sr.'s wife. Dwight, overwhelmed by everything, decides to spare William's life, refusing to continue the cycle of violence. But the Cleland sisters, desperate and furious, pull out a hidden machine gun and a wild shootout breaks out. The fight ends with everyone dead except William, who is traumatized and throws away his gun before walking out on his family, unable to handle the tragedy. As the dust settles, the last scene shows the mailman delivering the postcard Dwight wrote to Sam days earlier, a quiet reminder of the broken family left behind and the high cost of revenge.